In this video, I'm going to be talking about the 3 best ways you can use to not hit 50K a month. And the reason I'm framing it that way is because Warren Buffett uses inversion thinking, where instead of asking yourself the question, how do I hit 50K a month? You ask yourself the question, what can I do to ensure I don't hit that 50K a month? And then you can do the exact opposite of it. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the 3 beliefs that I removed to grow my online consulting business to hit 50K a month and collect over $126,000 in the last 6 months. So make sure you guys stay tuned because I'm also going to be covering exactly what to do instead. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So belief number 1 to make sure you guys stay below 50K a month, it is to do your effort and actions based on where you currently are and not based on where you want to go. That's how you stay stuck. So what you should do instead is the opposite of that. So you want to do things based on where you want to go rather than where you currently are. So I'll give you guys an example. When I was first getting started off in business, a very big misconception that I had is that I needed to do manual outreach before running ads, until a friend of mine, he came up to me and he told me this analogy that kind of changed everything. So if you're an overweight person trying to get in shape, what are you going to do? Are you going to do the actions of someone who is fit, or are you going to do the actions of someone who is overweight? You're obviously going to do the actions of a fit person, of course. So it doesn't make sense if someone comes up to you and says they're overweight, hey, I'm overweight, like I'm 50 pounds, I want to lose these 50 pounds, but I'm going to start hitting the gym once I lose my weight. I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to start having the habits of a healthy person, once I'm already healthy, once I've lost that weight. It just doesn't make sense, right? So like in the same sense, you can max out all cold outreach, right? Have an entire cold DM setting team, like an entire cold email team following up, running in the background. But the version of Chef who is at that 50K a month or where they want to be, they don't have all of that. They don't have that much complexity behind the scenes because simple scales, right? They aren't sending cold DMs or cold emails out there either because they know that their service is valuable. It's valuable enough that people come to them rather than them go to other people. So maybe you're asking the question like, oh, maybe you don't know how to run ads. Like they'll just put themselves in the position to learn ads and actually just do it. Because like do what is the most leveraged thing based on where you want to be, like having customers come to you rather than you go to other people, right? If you're smart enough, you'll literally just treat the money that you spend on ads, maybe they don't do as well, you'll just treat that as the price to go in the right direction and learn how to run them properly. Because at the end of the day, a business owner's time is the most important asset to them. So it's a cost of getting a better return on your time. So belief number 2 to make sure that you guys stay under that 50K a month mark, it is to think from a place of scarcity rather than abundance, especially for finance. So what you want to do instead is put yourself in a position, even if it feels unrealistic, where you don't put that money on a pedestal. Because if you put that money on a pedestal, you become attached to it, right? And the person who's not attached is able to do things logically, like that's best for the company, best for themselves, best for their own life. Right? Because at the end of the day, the best business owners, they understand money is just a tool to help them get from point A to point B. So if you're thinking from scarcity, what's going to happen is you're going to have bad pricing decisions, right? You're going to be undercharging because you feel like you're not getting enough people to come to you in the first place. So you feel like you have to undercharge. You feel like, oh, because people aren't coming to me, like maybe my service isn't as good. And then you charge a lot less than what it is actually worth. On the sales call, you're going to start discounting too fast because you only have one sales call for the entire week and you want to make sure that you close this person because that's all you're going to get and you don't know when the next person's going to come in. You discount too fast. You maybe drop it from 2,000 to 1,000. Be like, hey, just because you're on this call, I'm going to give you $1,000 off as long as you sign on today. We don't want to be doing that because if we're doing that, we're only attracting low quality clients that are going to be a hassle to deal with later on. Maybe they're not going to be as committed. Maybe they're going to dispute you later, or maybe they just have extremely high expectations because they paid you $1,000. So another very big hole that people fall into when thinking from scarcity rather than abundance, and I see this everywhere, is that they have fear-based sales. So what that means is you're going to be over-explaining too much. So you're not going to be focused on the prospect and their pain points and how they feel, but you're going to be focused on just talking about how good your product is. But at the end of the day, the customer doesn't care how good your product is. They only care about how it's going to be able to solve their problems. But then if they don't even understand their problems, you're not going to be able to help them come to an educated decision at the end of the day. So that's why you want to start having a more question-based framework. Ask them questions about their pain point, how they're feeling, how long it's been impacting them, their pain points, what's going on in their business. Like maybe you start asking more in-depth questions like what happens if that pain point continues on over an extended period of time. Or maybe if they were able to get a solution to that problem that they have, like what would that actually mean to them, right? You want to ask questions that are focused towards your actual customer, not towards your product. And if you're not doing that, what you're just doing is you're just chasing customers that aren't ready, because you haven't even explained to them what their pain point is. They don't even know what they're going through. So when I was first getting into the entrepreneurial space, what happened was I would have this like hoarding behavior in terms of like I would refuse to invest into people. I would refuse to invest into tools. I would create like entire separate like 10 to 15 emails just so I could use the free trial version of softwares because I didn't want to pay for them, right? I never thought about ads. I'm like, oh, I could just manually do the outreach and outsource it myself rather than have the people come to me. And it was only until my friend Derek, he checked the hell out of me. And he asked me the question like, hey, how do you think the person at 50K treats his money? And it was only until I took a step back and I asked myself this question, and I very encourage you guys to ask yourself this question too. How does the person at that 50K a month mark actually treat his money? Like, does he treat it like he has a lot of it? Or does he treat it like he only has a little? I mean, he treats it like he has a lot because he has a lot, right? And because he treats it like he has a lot, is he afraid to invest into other companies, or is he afraid to invest into himself and maybe even ads or vehicles that are going to help him multiply that money? No, of course not, right? Because he doesn't have that hoarding behavior. He understands that money is not something to be hoarded. It's not a lifeline. It's not something that is to be put on a pedestal. It is just a tool to help you get from point A to point B. And when you don't have that abundant mindset, you're going to be consistently pivoting, right? As soon as something goes wrong the first time, you're just going to be like, oh, it's not going to work. Let's stop and try something else that I saw work, right? You're going to have a ton of shiny object syndrome. So they have like no patience for a compounding system. So like a system or a strategy that would have gotten them to that 50K a month mark in 6 months or 12 months rather than 2, right? They would have not gone through with it because like you feel like it's not working because it's just those first 2 months. Right? Which is what I mean by like a reactive strategy. They're always pivoting, they're always reacting to something rather than just stay and lock in and make sure that it works. And which is what I mean by reactive strategy, where, as soon as something negative happens or maybe they're not getting the result that they want, they immediately pivot and just look at something else, right? They just give up on it. And now, finally, here's the last thing, and this is something that I dealt with for a very, very long time, and some of you guys still might be dealing with it, and it's having perfectionism. If you have perfectionism, just give it up, man. So like I used to have the biggest case of perfectionism and just analysis paralysis. So like I needed to feel like I was ready. I needed to feel like my website had to be perfect, my brand had to be perfect, right? Everything had to be going well in order for me to even take a step forward in the right direction, rather than me just doing it regardless of how I felt. I just wasn't doing the things that were going to move the needle forward and get me results. Essentially, I was that person on the plane who, right before we took off, I would go to the person would go to the cockpit, and then he would ask the pilot, like, hey, what does this button do? What does this button do? And in let's say this happened, like, what would this do? That was exactly the mindset that I had, rather than just me taking my seat in the plane and then just trusting myself that I had made the right decision. So the question you have to ask yourself is like, hey, what's going to actually grow my business? Like, is it making a website, or is it actually getting clients? So it's literally just doing the things that move the needle forward, even regardless of how you feel. Because how are you even going to know what your clients need if you have no clients? Like, it's literally just doing the things that matter and just move the needle forward. Like, your website doesn't matter, your brand doesn't matter, your confidence doesn't matter. You're not even going to feel ready. You're not even going to have that conviction. There's no proof in the pudding, right? But how do you actually get proof in the pudding? It's by getting those clients and just getting out there and doing it. So like I used to have a case of perfectionism so much, it's because I was just too smart for my own good. I had to dumb myself down. So literally just ask yourself this question. Where does confidence come from? Does it come from making sure that your website's perfect and making sure that you know everything that's going on in the business before you get clients? Or would you have more confidence if you actually just got out there and got those results, maybe failed a couple of times, but then finally succeeded, and then now you feel confident because you have the proof in the pudding that you helped someone? Of course, like literally just delivering and getting the proof, right? Which means that your priority should just be doing the things that's going to get you the clients. Like whether it's just getting out there, book the appointment, right? And then just make sure that they show up to the call. and then just close them from there. There, you have a client. Of course, like that's super duper watered down, but you just need to get out there. Like just believe in yourself that you're making the right decisions and that you'll figure it out the same way that you believe that you're going to be successful. If you can say with full confidence that I'm going to be successful, then you should be able to say that I believe in myself, that I'll figure it out. So those are the three main things that you guys can do to make sure that you're unsuccessful in business, in entrepreneurship, and never hit that 50K a month mark. Because when I had those beliefs, I was never successful. I never made it. I never made any sales. So once I actually removed that and put in the work was when I collected over $126,000 for my online consulting business. Anyways, if you guys have any other questions for me, you guys can drop them in the comments below or send me a message on my Instagram. I'm always on there. I'll answer any questions that you guys have. I'm just happy to help. But other than that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. See ya.